call to order the Board of Public Works meeting for April 17th, 2023 in the Francis Huntley Cooper Council chambers. Wheeler, Lobdell, Wilburn are in council chambers with Herbst on Zoom. Item number 2, public appearance for non-agenda items. Scott, do we have anything? Okay, thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, review discussion items. 3A, discussion of private stormwater damage issues. And we do have someone who is willing to speak to that. We have Jerry and Kathy Neitzel. Please come up to the table.
We need to power it on. Okay. Do you have questions, or what would you, how much do you want me to say? Reader's Digest condensed, or?
Why don't you just
give a quick summary?
Yeah.
I think everyone on the board is familiar with this probably, except Tim hasn't been in the middle of it. So I suspect he's up to speed knowing him, but maybe a quick summary if anyone's watching.
Yeah, so we've been dealing with stormwater runoff issues on our property that's caused issues with flooding, and the backside of our property is continuously mud. The side of our property often has standing water every time it rains, or from snow runoff, and causes issues that we can't even access the backside of our property and do what we need to do. Issue, we believe, is being caused because we have proof from a topographical map that shows that our neighbor, who took dirt actually from us, she did ask for it, but she rose one area that it should be stormwater runoff. We were told approximately 16 to 18 inches, which is preventing the flow of the stormwater to properly run to the back of the property and then down the path of where stormwater runoff is supposed to go. And she had no permit to do so, no permission to do so. Definitely did not have permission from us to do so. We actually tried to fix this by creating a trench and asking them to make modifications so that stormwater could run off properly, and rather than fixing it, she made it worse. So, that good enough?
And Dave's got pictures of all the water and stuff standing.
Yeah. We found, I did some research to the best of my ability, finding some statutes against that being done. Obviously, it's interfering with the natural flow of stormwater to run off the road and then down through the properties and then down into runoff area.
Okay. And when did this occur?
It's been occurring for several years.
It's been over 10 years that we've been fighting with it. And the water is getting more saturated and more saturated, where we're getting water in our basement. Even if it rains a little bit, we get quite a bit of water in our basement now.
Now we actually,
And 3 years ago, our basement flooded and we had 3 feet of water in our basement.
Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead, Dave.
Kathy, is that, or Tim, is that a Fitchburg ordinance that is cited in the packet?
Yes, let me just pull it up. It's Fitchburg Ordinance 014, Section 30-25, regulations for lands not otherwise subject to provisions of this article.
Okay. It seems pretty, as I read it, it's pretty clear. I'm not a lawyer, but we were told, that Fitchburg didn't have any ordinances previously we were told we didn't have a ordinance that could address this, and it seems relatively clear. Can you bring up and we also We're also told there was no historical information that could substantiate Jerry and Kathy's claim. Can you bring up the map, Tim? And I'm not sure who found the map.
One of the
One of the
previous,
engineers came out, he took a aerial or, satellite picture, and he told us straight out that it was that much difference, 16 to 18 inches higher. And that's just before he left, and he went out by Dodgeville. I think he was an engineer or something. I can't
He
remember.
was city engineer, that was Mike, yeah.
No, I think his name was Dakota,
Oh, he was an intern maybe, or a stormwater engineer maybe?
something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Okay,
But he left and went out by Dodgeville.
okay,
And he's the one that gave us this map.
okay. Are we able to, Tim, are we able to bring that map up?
Yeah, Scott,
Okay.
to be page 14 of the packet, Scott. Okay.
And while he's finding that, Tim, just so you know, I've been out there. I think all of us have been out there, and you can see the natural flow of water where it goes along the road and it goes adjacent to the property, and then all of a sudden it just stops where the modifications were made, causing that flood. So you would think that one would say that someone should not be able to block an area that water naturally flows. That's going to affect the property owner next door. So I'm hoping, when we look at this, if you could work with Valerie and, go out, take a look, and work with Valerie to see if anything could be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tim, as I look at the map, and I'm not trained at reading topo maps like you are, we see the creek where it goes under the railroad track is at 905. So, I don't know exactly where the water level is in that creek, but that would say it's about 10 feet below the property, both Jerry and Kathy's and the adjoining property. You want to zoom in on that. But the both properties are at that 915, 916 elevation. And you'd see if one was raised, 16 inches, as it's relatively flat there. There's not a lot of elevation change, across those, the two properties, as least I see on the topo map. If one was raised 16 inches, that would force all the water onto the, really onto the other one, or in this case, stop the natural flow that went across. Are you able to make similar observation based on the topographic curves on this, Tim?
Yeah, looking at the map, I guess my only question is what year this aerial is. Does it take into consideration that the improvements onto the property to the south? But from the map, it does show obviously the water flowing towards the culvert underneath the railroad tracks.
Yeah, that was the natural flow for Jerry, 100 years, whenever maybe more than that when the track was built. The track was there before the homes were, obviously, but the flow. So the flow comes off the road. Where is the drive? Kind of the driveway. But is it a shared driveway between the two properties?
No. Nope.
No. Okay, so the property line, Jerry, is where she has it built up.
Yes, right at the end of the fence that she has in the back, and that's where the water's built up, right at the back of the fence. I think I showed Dave on his map that I gave him where it was the highest, and that's where it was blocked. And she did that, and we tried communicating with him and talking to him. And when our neighbor was alive across the street, Todd Gill, which is passed, anyways, he said straight out, he said, you gotta have a swirl and you gotta let it drain, because he works for Bruce Company, so he kinda knows landscaping. And that, don't quote me on it, but it's been about 10 years, I think, since Todd has passed. But we all sat there trying to explain to him that it had to be swallowed. Well, then she just filled it back in again.
So is this, is this your side of the property or?
Yes,
hers in
that's
this
our
picture?
side of property.
Okay,
And you can
And-
see the fence in the back there, and it's back at the end of the fence.
so that, there's the arborvitae trees, look like there's some mulch there, and to the left of that, is that a gravel walkway?
That's water.
That's water,
There's
there's
just
no
water
gravel.
there, okay,
Yep, that's all water.
That should be draining in that back corner.
And,
okay.
The arborvitae's and the fence is real close to the property line.
Okay, so what is stopping, if I'm watching that water, what's stopping it from continuing to go south into a swale running along the railroad track?
It's where she built it up at the end of the fence, that's where she built it up. It goes back there and then it stops because she built it up and she put bushes and little trees back there, right behind the fence. And as you can see, that there's like a mouse trap or rat trap poison thing.
Yeah, I
That
see
floated
that.
down from their house.
Yeah.
And
But
there's
what's stopping, in this picture, I see where her fence is and it's higher, but can't this water just go straight back and catch the swale parallel to the railroad
It
tracks?
still
and go
has
through
to
the
go
creek?
to the right of the fence to go down to the bottom where it goes through underneath the railroad tracks. Because you got the hill of the railroad tracks, it's not gonna go up over the hill.
Isn't there a swale on, parallel to the railroad tracks?
Nope,
She built the area up at the end of the fence.
at the
and
end of the fence,
eliminated
she
the
built it
swale
all
that
up
was
so it
there.
will not drain.
She eliminated the swale that was there.
Okay,
Mike Denson, we can't bring him anymore because he's not here, but he basically made a swell and had everything draining real nice, and then she showed up and then blocked it because she didn't want water running through her yard.
And then complains about the fact that we have ruts in our yard.
yeah, I've seen her posts, yeah. Well, Tim, I'm just gonna give you my 2 cents worth, the board would need to vote on this, but I've looked at this, I've gone down and looked. Now that we have a map, I was told there was no map that, even told, now we have a map, we kind of have some evidence that, something was changed. And, we would like some sort of, we'd like a letter from the city, stating the ordinance. And, we believe, stating that you have violated this ordinance, you're calling it by changing the natural flow of stormwater per this ordinance, and we're asking you to remediate it. And of course, she's gonna say no, she's gonna say sue me. And so be it, our thought was, we were hoping she would sell it. And then we would, we'd get the city to put some condition on it that, part of the sale required remediation of that, or at this point, I'm willing to have the stormwater utility come in with the backhoe and restore it, throw some rocks down, but we would like the city to issue a letter stating the violation of the ordinance and requiring that they restore the natural flow. At least we get this on record. And previously our current city administrator and the previous engineer said, this is a private matter, we want the Neetzels to go to court to deal with it. And, you know, their neighbor is quite wealthy, and I think she would be more than happy to try to bleed them dry in court, you know, and, if they are gonna file any type of motion or anything like that, I would like the city to, I'm not asking the city to go to court, but I think we start out with a notice from the city of the violation. And requesting remediation. I don't know what the other board members, what your thoughts are on this.
Is there a specific time frame on when you would want the remediation to occur? Like within 90 days, 6 months?
I think sooner the better. They've been putting up an awful mess there for many years. And it's destroying their property in a sense and their building.
They're building in their mall.
We think they're currently in Florida, but they're usually back about this time of year, but we haven't seen them yet. So, just an.
They aren't living there anymore, are they? Haven't they?
We don't know exactly what's going on. They had a bunch of contractors and stuff working over there inside the house. We don't know really what's going on, but they've been doing it
Okay.
before they took off.
To the best of our knowledge, they're not living in that house.
Yeah.
But they generally show up daily when they'd show up daily when they're in Wisconsin. But, we haven't seen them for a few months, and we know that they have property in Florida that they go to in the colder months. So we're assuming that's where they are right now. Just.
Yep. Kim, you have a
I
question?
guess from my perspective, I think, you know, if Tim hasn't been out there yet, before the city would issue a notice that says you're in violation of this ordinance, you need to go out and look at it and make sure that you agree with it. But then I think the next step would just be to, if this ordinance has been on the book since 2009, is that the date on the bottom of the ordinance, is what it looks like it said. I would just, you know, think the city could write a letter saying, you know, this ordinance, this is a City of Fitchburg ordinance, and, you know, you are in violation of this ordinance. But I think you have to be reasonable in the amount of time that you give them to remediate it, because, you know, you have to design something, you have to, you know, and have the time to do it in the time frame when they can get back there because of how wet it is or whatever too. So to me, I think 90 days is probably a little short, but I would not go over 6 months, you know, in between times. And then let them respond. I guess in the letter you say, if we, you know, you need to respond within 30 days of what is your intention to try to, you know, improve this situation, or what you're going to do, or if you have questions to let me know, and then take it one step at a time. You know, I wouldn't immediately go to the fact that, you know, they're going to sue us, or they're going to sue them, or they're going to sue the Neetzels or anybody else. But I guess typically what happens in a situation where people are in violation of an ordinance, you know, they have the opportunity to remediate it and to fix it. And if they don't, which, you know, they very well may not, but they very well may, if they're making other improvements to the house and want, you know, if they intend to sell, or if they intend to, you know, do anything with it. I guess I wouldn't jump to conclusions that they're not going to, because they haven't in the past. We need to follow the due process and give them the opportunity.
Yeah, typically
Give your thoughts on, you know, this ordinance is 2009, and Kathy and Jerry, when did they do this? Was this done before 2009? I just want to be careful we don't get,
It was
Right.
after.
they say, well, this is grandfathered.
Yeah, I look back at some of my notes, and I want to say that she started some of these issues around 2013. All the other issues that she was also bearing on, so that sounds about right, about 2013. So the ordinance was in place first. So, yeah, and she is denying she did anything, and she's claiming it's our fault. Which why it was nice that he found the topographic
Well,
map
yeah, and the
for us.
topographic map, but we don't know the date on the map either.
Well,
so-
can you get another one, do another topograph maps?
yeah, we have different years for topographic maps. We can take a look.
I was trying to remember when he gave it to us.
So who, do you know, remember the gentleman's name that gave it to you? Was it
I think his name was
Dakota?
Dakota.
Yeah,
and
Dakota's our GIS.
He was in engineering, and he came out with that and showed us.
Okay.
And then he said, well, I'm gonna be leaving in about a month or so, and then.
Oh, he's still here, though.
Further out of it.
He's still here, though. Dakota is. I'll speak to Dakota,
It
see
was
if it was
somebody
him.
that was
But-
leaving to go out by Dodgeville
That
to
would
work out
probably
there.
have been
Right.
Mike Brisbach.
Yeah, that was my,
It was Mike Bresbach, yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Could be.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Mike. Mike would dig in and, you know, try to get solutions pretty quickly. So I suspect he went down there and looked at it.
Yeah. And it's been, how many years since he gave us this? Maybe 4 or 5 or
It's been.
longer?
Yeah, it's been a while.
I'd say 3 years, 2 to 3.
It's been more than that,
More
I
than
think.
that, but, yeah,
5 or 6, I think.
yeah.
'Cause we've
Needless
been,
to say, I was thankful that he provided it to us, but.
Yeah.
So any further discussion?
What are we looking at here now? 90 days? If you go 6 months, and she'll go to limit on it, I'm assuming, it's gonna just more and more for the Nysels to put up with, plus destroying their property, and then they get into the fall to get anything done, if you go 6 months.
I somewhat agree with Kim, especially she used the 2 words that usually come up in these legal proceedings is due process. And I think we do have to look at due process. I understand that the Knights have been dealing with this for a long time, but I do think that we got to be careful and make sure that we follow due process and, you know, follow a path that's going to lead to a successful resolution.
Or and when people are in violation of other ordinances, and you need to sort of follow that same pattern and not treat this as a different situation.
yeah, I'll look into how the city of Fitchburg had it set up. My previous municipality, you know, we would notice if someone was in violation, like Kim had mentioned, we would send out a letter and let them respond within 30 days. And then there was another milestone where they would have to submit a resolution and their plan and lay out the timeframes. And then there was another milestone on when to get the actual work done. So that it is a step process. But I'll confirm with the city of Fitchburg to see if there is anything regarding that here.
Valerie would probably know that, the city attorney.
And probably our Jack Pearson.
Yeah, and typically, I think building handles the enforcement, so I'll have to get with them to see. I believe the enforcement comes from them, but I'll double check that.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jerry and
Thank you.
Kathy. I know you've been dealing with this for a long time, so thank you for your patience.
We're extremely happy to see some movement on it finally. So we appreciate all your time and your efforts on this, because it's really caused some issues for us for many years.
Right, you're welcome. All right, agenda item 3B, review a utility P card and check purchases. Any questions? Hearing none. Item 4A, approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve minutes of April 3rd, 2023?
I so move we approve April 3rd of 2023 meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Moved by Wilburn, seconded by Lobdell. Any questions, any changes for the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Agenda item number 5, report from the department. Tim?
Tim Volker, Director of Public Works, City Engineer. For the record, I'll start with some staff updates. The 3 open engineer positions, 1 in transportation, 1 in utilities, and the other, the part-time environmental engineer, still remain open. I've had some discussions with HR to see how we can generate more interest in these positions. She had reached out to Gov HR, which the city has previously utilized in recruiting. When Sarah, our HR director, had mentioned the word engineer, she said that's an issue all over trying to find engineers. So they kind of recommended us to maybe reevaluate the need for a PE. Some of the municipalities are having that removed as a requirement to try to get maybe some younger engineers in that have graduated recently with just 1 to 2 years experience. So that's something we're going to look into to try to get some more interest, to at least get some candidates into the door. So as far as that goes, project updates for Phase 1 Sain Road reconstruction. Sain Road and Lacey intersections remain closed with the detour. The Sain Road and East Sherrill Parkway remains open. In late May, we're still anticipating the Sain and Lacey intersection to be complete around that time, and then once that intersection's reopen, East Sherrill and Sain will be closed with a detour. And then Lacey Road and Seminole Highway reconstruction project. Last week, the staking limits for the tree removal was staked out and completed. And then this week, we're anticipating the contractor for the tree clearing to mobilize and start putting up the silt fence and maybe removing some trees later in the week. And then for the Fitchburg Road reconstruction project, this is the project from Tonto Trail north to Nesbitt Road. We had a design meeting with the engineering consultant, AECom, last week, Monday, April 10th. And then we have scheduled a meeting with the town of Verona for April 28th, 2023 to discuss contributions from them for the project. And then lastly, Sherrill Drive stormwater improvements. There's a public information meeting Thursday, April 20th this week from 6 to 7 p.m. at City Hall. The scope of the project and what to expect during construction will be discussed. So mailings went out to all the adjacent residents, letting them know of the meeting. And then for Phase 2, which is the work that will be discussed at that meeting, we're hoping to begin early to mid-May, and we're anticipating to complete that work mid-July. Basically, those projects consist of stormwater removal and replacement, manhole and inlet installation, curb and gutter removal replacement, and some asphalt paving. And then there'll be some temporary traffic detours for the work. So all that will be coordinated with the residents, and they'll be made aware at the meeting of that work. Any questions?
Dave, go ahead.
Do you have any salt left this winter?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. I would like to say we're done with big snowstorms, but I'm not gonna hold my breath.
I know.
Not yet, at least. Any other questions? Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Agenda item 6A, can I get a motion to approve resolution R-70-23, releasing a portion of a public utility easement within Lot 18 in the Hatchery Hill Plat, City of Fitchburg, Wisconsin.
So moved.
Moved by Herbst. Seconded by Lobdell. Tim?
The Hatchery Hill Plat provided a 10-foot public utility easement on the western side of Lot 18, and the hotel building at 5421 Cadiz Bend encroaches approximately 5 feet into this public utility easement. So the property owner has requested a release of a portion of the 10-foot easement in the area of, it's 6.5 feet by 51.5 feet. So the city doesn't have any existing utilities in this easement that they're looking for us to release. And then there's going to be a 3.5-foot portion that remains for the city to put in some future utilities if needed. And with that, does anyone have any questions?
Dave does.
Is that wide enough for anything I guess you could put electric service through there, but is that wide enough for, any type of sewer or stormwater or a pipe or anything like that? I'm wondering if it's worth keeping, I guess. It probably is, but your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that is the intent, that it is worth it to keep it to accommodate any future utility needs for the city.
Thank you.
Is it the actual building? Is it the actual building that's encroaching? Or is it like an overhang from the roof, or?
That I don't know. I think it may be an overhang.
From what I saw, it sort of looked like it might be, but.
Let me see if there's a description.
And was this just recently discovered?
That
And that building's been there a long time.
yeah. Yeah, it doesn't explain whether or not it's the actual building or an overhang, but it was recently discovered. That's why it was brought forth, because it was platted back in 1997, so it's been a while.
And so there are no existing utilities in there? Does it say that they had received a release for something else?
Yeah, the utilities have recorded partial releases with the Dane County Register of Deeds. A 3.5-foot portion of the existing 10-foot public utility will remain available to accommodate future utility needs.
Okay, so other utilities have recorded partial releases. Is that like MG&E or?
Correct.
But they don't have anything in there now, as far as you know, is that correct?
Correct.
Is there any compensation to the city for them having encroached upon the easement? I mean, it just seems strange to me that, 20 years later, they discover they're over halfway into the easement. It's lucky that we don't have anything in there at this point in time. And if we don't think we're going to need it, and we probably won't, yes, we can grant the release of the easement, but.
And from the sketch and legal, it looks like the existing building and existing elevated stoop and steps are what encroaches into the easement. So it is a physical.
But am I to understand what you're saying is that we will not need this in the future?
We do not need it. We only need the portion that we're keeping, the 3.5-foot portion, to accommodate our future utility needs.
Dave?
Then one last question. I'm always leery of this. Are we setting a precedent for people to violate our easements and, not worry about it, they'll do what they want. I'm always cautious, I'm not saying I want them to tear out their step and stuff like that, but I'm sure you've dealt with this more than I have.
Yeah, setting a precedence we never want to do. It is difficult because a corner of the actual building, along with the step and stoop, is what encroaches. So to remove the corner of the building is very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not possible. But again, like Dave says, if then do people just not pay attention to it? I mean, is this something that should have been discovered before they got their occupancy permit? That the city, looked at the 10-foot easement and said, your building's in there, or when it's being staked out, or how would something would this be caught so that it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, it needs to be caught prior to construction.
Right.
So, someone needs to
Building, yeah.
be verifying, the footprint of the building prior to the forms being installed and, making sure it's all outside the easement so nothing encroaches within them. That's the point where it needs to happen. Because even if it got constructed And even before the certificate of occupancy, if this was found, there's not much that can be
No.
done at that time. So it really, the oversight needs to happen prior to the forms being put up.
And typically that does happen.
Right.
The city, and this probably was just overlooked at the time that it was.
We were probably looking at areas where we did have easements or other things, we probably just missed, we didn't have anything in that area, so we, didn't get the scrutiny that it might have.
So Tim, we don't know why this came up now?
I do not know. I can ask Deanna, the development director, kind of more of the details on why this came up now versus, 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
I would like to hear, I don't feel comfortable making a decision right now until I know why this came up.
Okay.
In the first place. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Well, that's reasonable, Jim.
Yeah, were they looking at like doing a change in ownership or something, and then they needed survey work, or, sometimes they're not changing use or anything else, but the ownership of the property might change, but it is sort of unusual that.
So as far as procedure goes, is this something that can be withdrawn or by motion? Or do we have to just deny it and it goes back? I guess I'm looking to you, Dave.
We can defer it till the next meeting. I don't know how time sensitive it is. We can have a motion to defer till the next meeting so we could get that additional information.
Okay. I'll make that motion to defer. I move that we defer this item until the next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, this has been deferred. Thank you. Agenda item 6B, can I get a motion to approve resolution R-77-23, releasing an access easement within Lot 2 of certified survey map, CSM 3598, City of Fitchburg, Wisconsin.
I'll move approval.
I'll second it.
Move for approval by Herb, seconded by Wilburn. Tim?
So there's a 30-foot access easement along the eastern line of Lot 2 for CSM 3598. This provided the city access to Lot 1, and Lot 1 was formerly owned by the city of Fitchburg, and the city had intended to construct well number 6 at the site. Construction of well number 6 was abandoned on this site, and the city sold Lot 1 to James Fossey in 2005. So the Plan Commission upon the recommendation of the city engineer, has determined that the access easement may be released, since the city no longer owns the land.
Dave?
I would say, Tim, I'm sorry. I was probably asleep at the wheel. We sold that we didn't clear up the easement right away, when we didn't need the property. I'm sorry. It took 18 years for us dealing with this. We should have looked at the whole picture, when we sold that originally.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Agenda item 6C, can I get a motion to approve resolution R-78-23, releasing an utility easement within Lot 1 of certified survey map, CSM 3598, City of Fitchburg, Wisconsin.
Second the motion.
23.
Moved by Lobdell, seconded by Herbst. Tim, I guess this is
Same thing.
pretty much the same thing?
Pretty much, this utility easement allowed the city of Fitchburg to construct, install, operate a municipal well, which previously mentioned as well number 6 on this 1-acre parcel of land. And Lot 1 was formerly owned by the city of Fitchburg for the planned construction of well number 6. And then this land was also sold to James Fosaid, I know I'm saying that wrong, back in 2005.
Okay, I guess there'd be no further questions on this. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Agenda item 6D, can I get a motion to approve resolution R-76-23, approving purchase of 2022 streets pickup truck?
I so move we approve resolution R-76-23.
I'll second it.
Moved by Wilburn, seconded by Lobdell. Tim?
So Public Works had budgeted $36,250 for replacement of a pickup truck in 2024, which is next fiscal year. However, the existing 2008 pickup truck that it was to replace had the transmission go this fiscal year. So Mark did some research and found in a truck on Middleton Ford's lot. It's a 2002 Ford truck. It's in stock currently for the cost of $35,632.50, so under budget. So we're looking to move the purchase of this vehicle up by 1 year since a truck is available, and the truck that it's looking to replace would be costly to replace the transmission in it.
Any questions? Dave?
Tim, what's the typical daily use? What is this truck doing on a daily basis?
They're utilizing it to drive to sites. It's for our maintenance mechanics or street mechanics to drive around. Specifically what Mark uses it for would be more of a question for him. And I can provide more detail tomorrow for you guys.
Could you do that?
Absolutely.
Here's where I'm coming from. I'm going to get questioned. Well, why you're not moving us towards sustainability. This should be a battery truck, and I'm not. A, we can't get them, and B, I need a little more reliability or be able to use these at night. But I would just like to get a little better idea of what it's, how it's being used. Does it ever pull a trailer? Things like that.
I realize that it is a year ahead of time, but since the current one is having transmission problem, and to invest money into fixing that when you were going to replace it next year doesn't seem very prudent. And also, pickup trucks are really hard to come by right now. I know we've been trying to buy a couple for our survey crews, and it's very, very difficult to try to find anything that's not, made for a consumer that has all the bells and whistles and things on it. And plus, it's within the budget that you had established next year. And who knows, if you waited till next year, it may be over budget because the prices of things are going up. So I guess provided that the use is justified, that you need it for, you can't buy an electric vehicle, I guess, which we did, or hybrid or those kinds of things, which probably wouldn't be within the budget anyway. I would support the fact that we go ahead at this point in time.
I agree. Anything else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Agenda item 6E, can I get a motion to approve resolution R-83-23, approving First Amendment to Development Agreement with Promega Corporation, termination of agreement for repayment of non-developer costs, and first restated amendment to subdivision improvement agreement?
I'll move approval.
I'll second the
Moved approval by Herb, seconded by Lobdell. Tim?
The city and Promega Corporation previously entered into a tax incremental financing agreement and an agreement for repayment of non-developer costs. Under the existing subdivision improvement agreement, Promega is responsible for the construction of certain public improvements related to Lacey Road and Commerce Park Drive. City and Promega wish to amend the existing agreements to allow the city to handle the remaining construction of public improvements in exchange for a payment from Promega in the amount of $2,972,203.
And that was computed because the original amount was 4 million some, and they've expended the other money already, so it's the difference between those two, is that correct?
I believe so.
And this move just makes it more efficient that we just take over since we're going to be doing West Lacey Road anyway,
Correct.
instead of having two people kind of overseeing the same
Correct.
project.
Takes out the middleman, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, just to add, we approved we approved the construction bid for the project. And, but this change had to take place before before council could accept it. So, Board of Public Works had approved, and then this was discovered. I didn't remember it. So it's kind of tying up the loose ends on this project.
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Agenda item 6F, get a motion to approve resolution R-88-23, granting a non-compensable public utility easement on Outlot 23 and Swan Creek.
So agenda item 6F, the easement we're still working on with MG&E. We're going back and forth with some language still, so we're looking to table this to the next meeting.
Okay,
I will make a resolution to table resolution number R-88-23 to our next.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So motion has been tabled. Agenda item 7, announcements. Next Board of Public Works meeting is Monday, May 1st, 2023, at 5:30 PM. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I'll move adjournment.
I'll second.
Adjournment moved by Herb, seconded by Lobdell. We are adjourned.
Is the mayor
Thank
going to
you,
make
Jim.
the appointment?